and to understand the magnitude of it at different parks. So I thought, oh, perfect. So I sent a request back again saying that I was a published author, and I requested an exemption, and I wanted the list of missing people utilizing what you just quoted. I got a response back that they would have to go into the archives and form a list, and it would cost me $34,000 for the list from Yosemite.
Just from Yosemite?
Just Yosemite.
Which means it must be a fairly big list. I mean, $34,000 is a lot of money, but you're going to be talking millions of dollars for the rest of the country. Am I right?
$1.4 million for the entire park system.
Now, isn't this astonishing irresponsibility on the part of the Park Service to not keep lists of missing people? And if they do keep secret lists, then the fact that those lists are secret is putting the Park Service ahead of the lives of its own patrons. They care more about the Park Service than they do about the people who go to the parks.
So the Park Service knew what was coming because we filed probably 50 FOIAs against them in the last 3.5, 4 years on various people that have disappeared, on lists like this, etc. They knew what we were doing. So it's a calculated decision on their part to hold back on those lists. Apparently, and we discussed this at length, apparently the fallout from what we're talking about right now and what I've talked about on other shows must be less than the fallout would be if they released those lists.
Well, of course it is, because if they released the lists, then the public would know to take the kind of simple precautions that you suggest in the book. When you say a transponder, by the way, you suggest hiking the parks and so forth and so on in pairs, and you suggest the use of a transponder. What do you mean by a transponder?
Well, years ago, the first transponders that were out, my dad had a plane and we used to carry it, and it looked like a giant kind of hand phone. And if the plane ever crashed in the wilderness, my dad taught us, hey, sometimes the crash itself would set off the transponder. It goes to a satellite, and it tells search and rescue officials that a plane crashed, and they'll hone in on the signal and find you. The same sort of technology exists for hikers in the wilderness now, and it's so cost effective at this point that anyone could really go out and buy one for $100. And if you get hurt or you're injured, you could just press the transponder and eventually you get found. Now, the interesting thing about that, out of all the cases I ever researched, there was only one guy that disappeared. He was found in a really, really weird area, and they found him because of that transponder. Now, it didn't save his life, but they did find him, and I don't think they ever would have found this guy without it. And it's a really, really rare event when two people, especially two adults, disappear simultaneously. And I think that there must be some rationale to that. So hiking together, using a transponder, I think covers a lot more of those bases and gives you a better chance of getting found alive than not.
Well, yeah. Tell us about this. Where was this man found?
So on the outskirts of Yosemite, there's several different wilderness areas. And for the people who have never been there, there's a lot of spires, crags, cliffy areas. So right before the transponder goes off, a storm comes into the area, and I mean there's lightning, rain, etc. And anyone who's a hiker knows you don't go up to the top of peaks and mountains, especially during a thunderstorm in the mountains. That's the worst place to go.
Right.
Not only did this guy go to the top of the mountain, it was not only raining and thundering, but he did. And then he ended up in the bottom of one of these crags, spires, in a small little tiny valley where the chances of being found by a search and rescue team without that transponder are zero. And the only reason they did find him is because a search plane with a transponder receiver flew exactly over the spot and was able to pick him up. It was very unusual.
Well, yeah, because what in the world was he doing there? Storms play a surprising role in this, just in general. Is that correct?
An amazing part in all of this. It almost seems as though there's some intellect involved at some level where before or right after the person disappears, there's a major storm, and sometimes these storms go on for days.
Yeah,
And
that is very creepy. But go ahead.
yeah, no, it does cause obvious troubles for the search and rescue teams, but it seems that it happens more times than not. And in researching hundreds of these cases, it's something that just keeps raising its head every time, and it's weird.
Yeah, I should say so, because it's almost like there's somebody who can cause the storms, dare I say that, in order to cover the tracks?
Well, we thought about that, and then we thought the other thing is that there's certain animals, and there's obviously fish that understand changes in barometric pressure. And maybe there was a time in our lives, way back when, where we could as well, but maybe it's that change in barometric pressure that somehow something somewhere realizes that a storm's about to come. I don't know.
It's absolutely eerie. Folks, when we get back, we're going to talk about a new case that has just started to develop, the Micah True case. It's quite remarkable case. When we get back with Dave Paulides, Missing 411, and you can get more deeply into this if you're concerned about a missing person or you want to protect yourself by being careful about where you go. Go to canammissing.com, canammissing.com. We'll be right back.
Dreamland subscribers, don't miss the live chat with Whitley Strieber in the Unknown Country chat rooms Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Time.
Beyond the live chats in the unknowncountry.com subscriber section, which are themselves great and a lot of fun, we also offer a huge archive going back all the way to 2004. In this archive is an absolutely fascinating Dreamland with Alan Lammers about missing persons in Indonesia. It is hair-curling, so maybe now is the time for you to go to unknowncountry.com, click on that subscribe tab, and subscribe now. $12.95 brings you 3 months. It's one of the least expensive and very best subscription offerings of its kind online. Do it today. You've been listening to this show for a long time. Now, do a little give back. Get on board. It's fun, and it gives you a great feeling to know you're helping Unknown Country and Dreamland keep on keeping on. I've been thinking about attending the Dreamland Festival. You better hurry and get your tickets. We're down to just 28 seats left, so it's time to make your decision. And if you're an unknowncountry.com subscriber, you get an additional 10% off. Very well worth doing. You're wondering what a festival is like. Now let's listen to what a participant in an earlier Dreamland Festival thought about what it was like. Tell us about the presentations, why don't you?
It's almost like these presentations took on a three-dimensional quality that you just don't get when you're reading this material. To have the person presenting it live gives it a level of intricacy that you don't get when you're just reading a book, and also to be able to ask questions on the spot is, again, it's invaluable.
The Dreamland Festival, as unique as this programming, as unique as the people who make Dreamland happen, as unique as unknowncountry.com. Don't miss it this year. Go to unknowncountry.com, click on the store tab, get your tickets today.
This is Whitley Strieber's Dreamland. We go deeper.
This is Whitley Strieber. We're talking to Dave Paulides. We're talking to him about missing persons. He did an extraordinary show on Coast to Coast AM a few nights ago. I listened to every word of it, and I was riveted. And we're going a little deeper today on Dreamland into this whole issue. And for subscribers, we're going to be talking about some very, very strange stuff. Bigfoot, possible alien abductions, an intelligence behind this, or just exactly what is it that is causing all of these very, very strange cases. Before we left the air, I was just mentioning the case, Dave, I'm sure of Micah True. Tell us a little bit about Micah and his background.
Micah was a long-distance cross-country marathoner who was in phenomenal shape. This guy made a career out of running the backwoods, mountains, country roads of Mexico and the U.S., and he had worldwide fame for his age. He was 58, but he probably looked 40 or younger. He was running in the Gila, Gila wilderness.
Right.
And he disappeared. And he and his family were staying at a nearby lodge. And normally, Mika took his dog with him when he ran, and for some reason that day, he didn't. And he had ran these woods dozens of times before, so he knew him. And he didn't come back in his normal time, and people started to look for him. And up until just recently, they hadn't let go with much information about it. Other than he had disappeared, they found his body near a creek. Well, just recently, more information has come out. They stated that they found him half sitting, half in the creek, half on the bank. One shoe was off. There were severe bruises and scratches on his body, and an autopsy is pending. So if you read my books, this is a really, really common scenario to find somebody who has been missing, meaning both shoes are gone or off their feet. Second thing is that there's severe scratching or bruising on the body. They're found in an area they're not supposed to be. And the entire scenario really, on its surface, doesn't fit the mold of any common sense based on the person's profile.
And the feet, the strange thing about the feet, I have to tell you that a creepy feeling went off my spine when I read about this in the latest stories about it, because I thought immediately of the feet being found in shoes on the coast of British Columbia. And I thought, is there some kind of bizarre connection here? What could be going on? It's almost as if there is something doing this. Could it be insane? Well, obviously, I mean, you just have to wonder.
You can get a lot more accomplished sitting around talking as a group of people than one person sitting in the room alone. And we've all known researchers that work alone. And I learned a long time ago when I worked on teams on the police department that solving big issues, you need a bunch of free thinkers sitting together talking about it. And luckily, in our group, we've got that. And one of the guys came up with the idea and said, well, if you were in the middle of the wilderness and somebody took your shoes, you're limited in how fast you're going to run and how far you're going to go. And I thought, wow, that's a good thought.
That's right.